Hard to argue with that. All right, Justin, thanks. It is Friday, and it's midday, which means it's time for the Bell Breakdown. Josh Bell, of course, our famed movie critic, joining us to review two new movies. So the first, we're going to start with Harrison Ford. He's taking a little time off from the big screen, I believe.
Well, you know, he had some Star Wars stuff to do.
That true.
That was perhaps time-consuming.
Yes, he had to get that, in his rear view. But
right.
now he's kind of taken on this new project, The Call of the Wild.
Right.
It's really him and man's best friend, his dog. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, well, it's based on the classic novel people may have read in school by Jack London from the early 1900s, and has been adapted into a movie a bunch of times with Clark Gable and Charlton Heston over the years. And it's really about the dog and not so much about Harrison Ford's human character, who's only really in about half the movie. I think they're playing him up in the advertising. He's not quite as involved. But it's about Buck, the dog, who gets kidnapped from his comfortable home and sold as a sled dog in the Yukon and kind of reconnects with his wild roots, I guess you could say. I think the book, I have actually not read the book. This was not one that I read in school, but I think it's a bit more violent and brutal, and this version definitely tones things down, sanitizes them. It's very much trying to be a family-friendly movie. The other thing about it is there are no real dogs in it.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. This is all done digitally?
It's all done digitally. It was done with motion capture. You can go online and see some very odd-looking footage of Harrison Ford interacting with a guy in a suit who's playing the dog. And I mean, certainly this technology has come a long way, and there are times in the movie when it looks really seamless and really impressive. There are other times when it looks really awkward. I don't know that it entirely works. They use it to make the dog kind of more expressive and cute. There's a lot more like animal antics in this movie than maybe a more straightforward version of the story or a more faithful version would have. It doesned do, I feel like it doesn't quite do anything, it doesn't commit to it.
Sure.
It's sort of impressively CGI'd, it's sort of family friendly, but on the other hand, I think little kids might be a little scared by it. It's not really emotionally engaging. Harrison Ford is grumpy and crotchety, and that's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
And he connects with this dog who helps him deal with his emotions. But the dog isn't really that much of a character per se, so I don't know. If you got kids and you got to do something and you're waiting for the new Pixar movie, maybe, but otherwise I think this is entirely forgettable. It's the kind of thing people will watch 10 minutes of on cable or streaming and then go do something else.
Given that lack of emotion that you were kind of looking for, do you think that they should have just gone with a real dog?
Well, sure they should have gone with a real dog. I mean, I understand the idea that there's a lot of peril and there's violence and you can't or you don't want to put real animals in danger.
Sure.
I think they could have done sort of a mix that might have worked better. I think especially in the moments where Harrison Ford and other like human actors are directly kind of cuddling the dog is when it looks the most awkward. And could have gotten a real dog. They could have done something like they did with the recent Lady and the Tramp remake, which had all real animals, but then, and they talked, and like some CGI elements. So it's a valiant effort that I don't think quite works.
Really quickly, just in terms of Harrison Ford's performance, because we know he is such an uber star, is this film not likely to make his Hall of Fame?
No, I mean, I think honestly, Star Wars aside, Harrison Ford has kind of coasted through a lot of stuff for a long time, and again, he kind of lets the beard do the acting here, I think.
Fair enough. All right, our second movie is Brahms the Boy 2. Is this a sequel? I watched the trailer and it looks terrifying.
It is not terrifying,
really?
But it's meant to be.
Okay.
It is a sequel to a movie that I feel like no one remembers.
Right.
The Boy, the original film from 2016, was also not good. A horror movie about a creepy doll.
Yep.
And I guess it made enough money that they decided to make a sequel to it. None of the original actors are in it, but the doll is in it. So Brahms, the creepy looking doll, is back. The thing about the original movie was that the really only thing it had going for it was this crazy plot twist at the end. And that twist kind of negates the possibility of a sequel. So in order to make a new movie, they have to basically undermine everything that made the first movie any good at all, which is not a good starting point, I think. And then it doesn't help that this movie is not scary, it's mostly boring. The doll terrorizes a new family, they move in next door to the original house, and the kid kind of befriends the doll, I guess, and things turn dark, and Katie Holmes is in it, because I guess that's where she is in her career right now. She's playing the mom, and there's nothing in this movie that feels like anybody had an idea or a reason to tell the story other than we made some money last time. It's full of just kind of basic jump scares. It's slow, it's tedious. It's barely even 80 minutes long, and even then it bored me, honestly. So
that is a rough review, but
don't go see The Boy 2.
And the bare minimum when you go to see a scary movie is you expect to be scared.
No, yeah, I mean that would be nice, but other than the basic jump scares and the loud score, there's really nothing. Even the doll is not even that creepy.
Huh. All right. Well, The Boy 2, there you have it. Misses the mark. Josh,
Yes.
thanks so much. That was the Bell Breakdown. We'll be right back.